it's a very good initiative that, Mirror Now is taking this up and trying to ban child locks altogether.
So I think the Mirror Now campaign is very important and a lot of attention should be drawn towards it and people should be aware and take a stand again.
It's a mega Mirror Now impact. Public taxis will now compulsorily spot child lock stickers in the national capital. The stickers will inform and warn passengers how a child lock can be misused in a car.
Every such commercial cab has a child proof or child lock that can be either disabled or enabled, which allows the driver to lock the cab from inside and wherein you cannot open the doors from inside.
Child lock जो है private गाड़ी में होना जरूरी है, but commercial vehicle में होना जरूरी नहीं है.
I would suggest that in commercial vehicles and all, there's no need for this because no child would be traveling alone.
The order is a big win for women across India. On Mirror Now, we've been constantly highlighting how cab drivers intending to rape women have been misusing the child lock function to lock and trap women in the car against their will.
There's something very important we need to all realize about taxis. There is a definite data to suggest that most of the crimes that have happened against women in taxis have happened because the car was child locked. And if the car is child locked, as a passenger in the back seat, you cannot open the door and you cannot roll down windows because the master switch for the windows is with the driver.
Taking note of a relentless campaign, Delhi has set the precedent, but we will not stop there. Let us make taxis safer across India. Even today, there are many women across India who do not realize the potential threat a small child lock could pose.
I wasn't aware about this, so there should be some kind of awareness among at least the TG to know how to disable the child lock.
I'm aware about how the child lock functions and it is present in every car, but we don't usually pay attention about whether to open it or not.
The mechanics of a car are not very comfortably known, so this should be more publicized more.
Mirror Now has already reached out to the centre. In a letter to Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari, we have asked that such child lock stickers be made mandatory across India.
Well, here's our campaign, and here is the impact. In Delhi, at least, taxis will be made safer for women. A relentless campaign for safer public transport has gained some steam. On Mirror Now, we demanded that all commercial vehicles carry a sign warning of the misuse of child lock that could potentially trap passengers in taxis. The national capital at least has made it compulsory now for taxis to have stickers with instructions on how to disable child lock or at least check if the child lock is on before you get into a car. This comes after our Mirror Now campaign. We want to take our campaign further. We want to ensure that taxis across the country, in the very least, carry child lock stickers, and the most, if we are lucky, have those child locks removed completely. And a power-packed panel on this debate joining our campaign to make this safer. You can call in right now and give us your opinion, or you can join us on invol.in and leave either a comment or a statement that will pop up on the screen. But on the panel with me tonight, Anila Singh, spokesperson of the BJP, Mohammad Khan, spokesperson of the Congress, Atishi is the spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, who will join us through the course of this conversation. Kartikeya Singhi is a car expert. He's the group editor of Car Dekho, Zig Wheels and Bike Dekho. We're glad to have him as part of this conversation. Sipal Singh, former Inspector General of Police Punjab, and Charulata, who works in an MNC, who has been through a harrowing experience in a taxi that was locked without her permission, will also join us through the course of this conversation. I'm going to start this conversation with Mr. Sipal Singh, a very senior former Inspector General of Police Punjab. Mr. Singh, the Delhi police has decided to put out stickers. We've submitted an appeal to Mr. Nitin Gadkari, the Honourable Minister of Surface Transport, months ago. It has not been taken up yet. How important do you think it is to remove child locks from all commercial registered vehicles?
I think the campaign launched by Mirror Now has borne fruit, but I think the results will be very limited. In this case of only putting some screens is not, ultimately you'll find we'll back to the square one, because ultimately nobody will check. The screen says that you should check your lock. How is educated, some educated girls will do, some literate people will do. Lot of illiterate girls are going, lot of small children are going, lot of minor girls are going, who will not be able to read the sticker even, not to implement, and then implementing to open the lock or to disable the lock, it itself is difficult. You see, I am of the view that complete commercial vehicle, all the commercial vehicles need not have these locks. There's no need to have locks. In case you want, all right, some people, some babies, some children have to travel, then earmark some vehicles for them. You can earmark some vehicles, then you'll know that these are the drivers who are driving these vehicles. And that driver will only carry the children. But otherwise, I think, with the passage of time, again we'll revert back to the same thing, because most of the people will not know, most of the girls will not know. If some know, they will not be able to disable it. And if there are a few who will be able to disable it, it will go to their advantage. So I am of the view, either for all the commercial vehicle, we should remove this completely. And only if you want, of course, for the babies, you want to send the children, you earmark some vehicles. All right, these vehicles are going to be having a baby lock, and we'll know that these are the drivers who are carrying the babies. But in the passage of my ongoing conversation with you, I'll let you know how best we can achieve. The results are that how the drivers have to be psychologically trained for that. Most of our drivers, we are not putting them to those psychological tests before taking them as drivers. They just are recruited and they're just given driving licenses.
Okay. Let me bring in Karthikeya Singhi. Karthikeya is a car expert, and my question, Karthik, is this. The child lock is a Western idea for when children are riding by themselves in the back of the car and parents are driving. And in most of those cases, it's important to make sure that children don't open the car themselves and fall out. But in commercial vehicles, and especially since we're using so much Ubers and Olas and other cars with aggregators, so we have women getting into the back of a car with a complete stranger very regularly in all of our big cities. It did not happen 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but it's happening very often right now. How important is it to make sure that this one mechanical switch is removed from all of those cars?
I think the end result that we want is to have the occupant of the vehicle to be able to get out as and when they please. If we look at that as the bottom line, how we get to it can be handled in different ways. Removing the child lock itself, yes, that would be the ideal scenario, but how can that be done? How quickly can it be done? And how will it be managed? I think those are the questions that keep it from being a straightforward solution. So that is my concern with that. The stickers, yes, that makes sense. We know that the RTO has commercial vehicles that need to be checked every year before they get a passing for that year. These stickers to be pasted on the outside of the doors, be it in Hindi or English, would be one step that can be applied and can be easily monitored as well when it comes to making sure that the passengers are aware of this possible peril.
Process to remove a child lock from a car. I just want to understand this. Is it a mechanic job? Does it need to be done in the factory before the car is released? Because it ideally should be done whenever the car is being registered as a commercial vehicle. And there are some changes that need to be made at that point. The number plate has to be re-registered and written in yellow. It has to be put on the side of the car. There are some things that need to be done. Can this also be done at that point?
Right. Can it be done at the factory? Yes, but is it, does it make sense? To me, it doesn't. It would be an extremely painful process for manufacturers to be manufacturing vehicles that are specifically for taxis. Like you said, they have to be passed by the RTO as taxis, and for that very often you'll find that taxi operators are even buying used vehicles. So it's not just a question of new vehicles. People are buying used vehicles and registering those as taxis. We have the existing fleet. So I think in that case, if child locks have to be removed, it should be at the passing level for the certificate for fitness, where they can have the locks removed there and that being verified for that certificate itself.
All right, so I just want to bring in now the other two members of our panel, Anila Singh and Mohammed Khan. I believe that for this one cause, you should set aside your political differences and actually come together, because this is such a small step and it can make such a massive difference. I want to remind our viewers of Naina Pujari. Naina Pujari was a young lady who lived in Pune, who worked with Infosys. She worked in an IT company 3 years ago. She came out of her office, got into one of the fleet cars that the office normally offers as a drop home. The car was child locked. The driver kidnapped Naina Pujari. She wasn't able to exit the car because it was child locked. He took her to a remote location where he and 3 of his friends raped her and murdered her. Naina Pujari's husband, who couldn't join us today, Abhijit Pujari, told us very clearly on this show that had it not been for the child lock in that car, his wife would be alive today. That one story should be enough to send chills down all of our spines, because all our loved ones get into the back of these cars with complete strangers on a regular basis. And for the driver to have the ability to trap you and kidnap you is not only scary, but should be top priority for law enforcement and for governments. Anila Singh, why is it that the central government has not responded to our request yet? And why can't we do the same that at least the Delhi government has done across the country? Why can't we make cabs safer? Why is it not a priority?
Faye, first of all, we all appreciate that what Delhi State Transport Authority has taken a step towards the safety of women traveling in cab, by issuing orders that all the cab drivers, they have to put 4 stickers on their cab. So it is a good beginning. But at the same time, I would like to read something to you, because since you are talking about the BJP government in the center, that what we are doing. So I'll just like to read a couple of lines here. That on 12th April 2017, the central government accepted the measures recommended by the Ministry of Women and Child Development concerning safety of women commuters availing cab services. And under this, 5 recommendations were accepted by the Ministry, by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. And these 5 recommendations were the taxis should be mandatory fitted with the GPS panic devices. For the number 2, for the safety of women and child passengers, the central locking system in the taxi should not be allowed. The driver's identification along with the photo and registration number of the vehicle should also be prominently displayed in the taxi. Violation of the stipulated rules by the taxi operators or drivers should be strictly dealt in accordance with the law. And lastly, sharing of seat should be subject to willingness of passengers. So the recommendation which you have mentioned right now about the child lock, it has already been accepted by the central ministry. Now the central ministry has done its job. I think you've
misunderstood. It's not the same thing.
And
central locking and child locking is not the same thing.
Respected states.
Unless saying central locking and child locking is not the same. And I'm opening up our phone lines for women across the country to call us.
You're right. Central locking can be, yes.
Central locking and child locking is not the same thing, and central locking can be overridden from any passenger door. If the car is centrally locked, I can still open it from my passenger door. But if the car is child locked, I cannot open it.
Yep.
Can I say something? I agree with you. That is what I am saying, Faye, that these recommendations has been accepted. Now they are on the ground. Now the respective states, they have to accept it and get it regularized in their state. But at the same time, now we are discussing about the child lock, and I'm pretty sure that Delhi has started it, and other states are going to follow as well.
See, I just want to point out, these are the things that you just called out. Panic buttons. We've tested, and there are several people who've tested. If you run a search on the internet, you'll find it. Panic buttons inside of cars, especially in Delhi, do nothing. People have pressed panic buttons and realized nothing happens when you press a panic button. Central locking not being allowed makes no difference. I don't understand what the other 2 points were and what bearing that they had, but I will open up our phone lines for viewers who want to call in and tell us what sort of safety measures you have encountered when getting into a cab. Mohammad Khan of the Congress, go ahead.
Faye, this measure, what you guys have done, the importance of that cannot be diminished or cannot be overstated. And I'll tell you why. Now, whenever you come up with a measure or a law, there are two yardsticks on which it must be measured, and it must be measured thusly. First, it must be measured for the punitive consequences, and it must be measured for its value as a deterrent. Now, when you have done this, someone said that the person who's getting into the cab may not be able to comprehend, but the driver knows that the instructions are there. The driver is aware that he cannot execute any ill intention. He will always be on his guard. So I think the value of this move as a deterrent cannot be overstated. I think it's a very, very brilliant move. Also, Faye, you give the example of that lady from Pune, the very tragic incident. How many of these cases go unreported? And there is a saying, I think it's in the Quran or the Hadith, it says that if a person saves one life, it shall be as if they have saved the entire, they would have saved all of humanity. So I think this, if this saves even one life, and I think it will, it would have made a huge difference. I also want to say that, look, women's safety is a very low-hanging political fruit. Every political party in its manifesto has a chapter dedicated to women's rights and women's safety. It is also true that every political party, once it comes to power, does extremely little other than pay lip service, get a few women to staff a few commissions, etc. But no real action happens on the ground, legislative or executive. I think, and I wish the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson was here because I have several questions to ask of her. This is actually the most constructive thing that has happened in Delhi over the last 2 years. And you must remember, this is a party. When they were campaigning in Delhi, they had an exhaustive list of things that they would do for women, including a women's safety app, which you described as the panic button. I think, Faye, this is a fantastic beginning. You shouldn't let up, because it is efforts like this, inch by inch, that you win a much larger paradigm and policy change. I think it's a fantastic start.
Thank you, Mohammad Khan. I appreciate your kind words. Now, here's my question to you.
Yeah.
States of Karnataka, Mizoram, Tripura and Punjab that are currently led by Congress governments.
Yeah.
Why haven't you done this in your respective states?
I agree. It is an issue that needs to be considered. And I assure you that tomorrow itself, no later than tomorrow itself, we will take this up, and I am hopeful that our states will implement it.
I'll like to say something.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Singh.
I beg to differ. I mean, why are we always thinking that let us try this, then try this, then try this, meanwhile the incident go on happening? We very well know it is a good step. I started with it. It's a good step that at least you have made the people who come into the vehicle, sit in the taxi, that girl or that woman should know that this is disabled, can be done by her, and she should feel whether it's disabled or not, and she should test whether it's disabled or not. But the implementation is very difficult. It's not said. You will see with the passage time, another 2 months or 3 months, even if this is there, still the incident will happen. The reason is that we always do not go, we want to go, all right, this slow step, that's what is wrong by totally disabling the baby locks in the commercial vehicle. Wrong will be only some vehicle have been purchased. There is some people who will lose something. If we lose this thing, the driver is not to be trained. It's hardly anything. You see yourself. If you go by the side of the lock, it is sometimes I myself, my driver, you know, is able to put. I myself do not know how to get out. So he'll go out and give me that I said open it. So this is not something which is very, very fantastic. It is prevalent in the Western countries for reasons different. Their children go, and they are small children. The parents are probably sitting in front and the children are sitting at back, so they want to make these, for the children should not go, so therefore this baby locks are. That is not the social scenario in our country. In any case, if the children are going and you happen that they will go out, our mothers, our sisters, they look after the children very well. They'll not allow it to open. 90% of the child will not open like that because most of the time they are accompanying you. So taking a step by step and step by the time more and more and more incidents go on happening. I am of the view that we should take straightway a strong step, and not as a strong, actually, it's a wholehearted step. All right, this is causing this problem, even 1 or 2 cases. We should completely do away with it, or otherwise. What is that? You are making the driver sensitive. You have put a placard there. No, last recommendation said that he should have a name, he should have a registration number, he should, so that you are able to find out who is the person driving. Still the things went on happening because there is a deterrent, as my friend has said. Deterrent is only the punitive deterrent, and punitive deterrent under this section will not be possible. You have a sticker, it's not a legal. You have given a binding. It is only for the sake of getting a license. Is a guy getting this taxi registered? It's about registration of your taxi.
But sir, ये academic exercise थोड़ी है, because as the anchor pointed out, there is a calamity that has happened. Therefore, it is not just an academic exercise or an academic debate. So this step, even if it saves one person, has achieved its objective.
I want you gentlemen to hear what Charulata Biswas has to say. Charulata Biswas lives in the city of Delhi, and she had a harrowing experience at the hands of a taxi driver who happened to be drunk, who locked her in the car. Charulata Biswas joins us right now. She's apparently at the airport on her way to catch a flight. Charu, I thank you for joining us. Would you please tell us what it means to a young woman like yourself to have these child locks removed completely?
I want them to be completely safe, and like I said in the earlier debate of yours, I want them to be removed because the kind of audience that I went to last time, it cannot be described in words. And right now, I mean, for coincidence, but I have just taken a cab and I, read the news. And it was written that Delhi State Transport Authority has circulated this information about these small little running signs on the cab. And I'm sure it's been one day, and I have the driver with me, and I want to ask him if he knows whether the stick has to be, if it has to be there on the car or not. आपसे ये पूछना चाहती हूँ, आप यहाँ पे आ जाइए कि आपको कहीं से भी ये सर्कुलेशन मिला है कि चाइल्ड के लगानी है आपसे? ठीक है. So now the driver does not know. I have taken the cab at around 9:47 from the airport and I have to go to Noida.
Right. So, Charu, we're just going to try and fix that audio because we can't hear you very well. But from what I understand, Charu was basically saying she just took a cab and the driver was not aware that they were meant to have stickers. They were not communicated to. And I think that's one of the problems. Yogen is on the phone line from Mumbai. Yogen, go ahead.
You're doing an excellent job.
Go ahead, Yogen.
I've heard about the authorities in Delhi asking, they would be asking the taxi drivers to put a sticker, but that is not a foolproof arrangement. If a man wants to misbehave, I mean, if a taxi driver wishes to misbehave en route, then okay, he may show the lock, he may show the sticker, but en route he can still control the master lock. So the master lock next to the driver has to be completely removed from all taxis within the country. We as grown-up men also sometimes find it very nerve-wracking to find that it is the driver who controls the lock, and we ourselves cannot open it either from the rear seat or even from the front seat. So the child lock and the central lock in all taxis in all over the country must be removed. That is what we should fight for.
All right, let's get some clarity on that. Kartikeya Singh is with us. He's a car expert. He's an auto expert. Kartikeya, explain to us the difference between the master lock, the central lock, and the child lock. Which of these is actually dangerous, and which one needs to be removed?
So I think the clarification required here is that you have child lock, which prevents the door from being opened from the inside, and then you have your central locking, which locks all the four doors from the driver's side. This can be overridden by the passengers in the back. The child lock that is also there is like basically there's a safety switch for windows, so you can't roll down the windows if the driver locks that from the front. So I think that could be where the confusion is. But the really tricky part here is talking about the child locks, which prevents the doors from being opened, the rear doors being opened from the inside. And if I may just raise a point from earlier, removing child locks from all cars, I don't think that makes sense to me very much. I have a young child and he travels in the car with his mother often, and in which case the child lock is important because that's just an additional safety layer.
Right, but Karthik, do you believe that the child lock is important then in commercial cars? Because obviously your son and your wife use a private car.
Yeah. So if that clarification is clear, then yes, in commercial vehicles, of course, it would be best to not have them given this scenario. But again, in that case, having separate vehicles with child locks in case of children traveling in them, that sounds like a bit of an issue. I think there are easier common sense approaches in which people can address this issue. And like Sir was just saying on the phone, there are times when even as grown men you can feel a little threatened traveling late at night or in some places, right? So it's just, I think very often, like it was said, let the buyer beware. Even in terms of traveling, sometimes you just have to think a little bit harder, be a little bit more careful. For instance, getting into a cab, just ask the driver to open the door from the inside if you feel unsure about something. Or if you get into the cab, first thing you do before you get going is to check the door whether you can open it on the inside. Even whether it has a sticker or not, you should do it by default.
Absolutely, that's really well said. And let me just see if I've gotten this right, also to understand if our viewers have gotten it right. So there's the central lock, which is the lock that's on the driver's door. And when the driver pushes that lock, you'll hear all 4 doors make a noise. It will go joop like that, and you will hear your doors close. That is the central lock. If you're sitting in the back seat and that lock has been activated, you can still open, because your door is more important than the driver's door at that point. You can still override that central lock and still open the door from your side from the back seat, which means the central lock, which the government of India has so carefully said should be removed from all taxis, makes absolutely no difference whatsoever, because the back seat can still open the car if it is centrally locked. What we're talking about is child lock, and I'm going to run that visual on the screen so our audience can understand what we're saying. The child lock is a physical switch. There it is. It's on the inside of the door. It's on the inside of both back doors, and it's a standard feature in most cars. So it's on the inside of the door. It is a physical switch, which means that it can only be activated when the car is parked and the driver has done it physically. It cannot be activated when the car is moving, and when the driver is sitting in his front seat, he cannot activate child lock. This is premeditated. That means if the child lock is on, someone has gotten out and physically done it. Now, if that switch is on, and you can tell by looking at it whether or not it's on, and you get into the car and close the door, you can no longer open the door from the back seat. It can only be opened by someone from the outside. Effectively, that means you are trapped. And like Karthik said, there is a child lock on the driver's seat for the windows as well. And if that is also engaged, and one assumes that if someone has, in a premeditated fashion, locked your back seat and locked your windows, it means you cannot open the door and you cannot roll down your windows, and you're effectively trapped. You'll have to find a way to smash a window, which is very difficult to do in these modern cars. You are effectively trapped and at the mercy of the driver. I'm going to take this back to Anila Singh. Anila Singh, this is what we're talking about. We do not need the government to remove central locking. We need the government to remove child locking. Now, gentlemen like Karthik Singhi, who's very generously given us his time this evening, I'm sure will very generously give his time to the government of India to be able to understand the difference between central lock and child lock, if that's what the government needs, because obviously right now the government has not understood.
Okay, my aim to tell you about the 5 points which was accepted by the Transport Ministry was simply that the government is very serious about the safety and the security of the passengers traveling in the cabs. So as I told you earlier also, Delhi state has accepted the I will say that it was, I think so, it was your idea, you started it, it was present by you only. So absolutely, like, kudos to you, and the Delhi state has accepted it, and I really want that other states in India, they should take example from Delhi state, and they should also include this new point as well with other security points in their respective states. But at the same time, like one of the panelists said, that awakening is one of the necessity when we are traveling in any of the public transports. So like we can go ahead, we can make a law or make a ruling that no cabs are going to have child lock, no cabs are going to have central locking system, and other things as well. But at the same time, if the passengers are not very well awakened about their rights, then crime, they are not going to stop. Crimes will keep happening. So it is better that it has to be both ways, like government has to come up with the regulations, and at the same time people traveling in the public transport, whether it is cab or any other public transport, they have to get a little more educated that how they have to be
how is this education going to happen
by following few steps.
How is this education going to happen? And would you right now, Abhijit Pujari, Naina Pujari's husband could not join us on the show, but if he was joining us on the show, would you then suggest that Naina Pujari died, she was raped and she was murdered because she was not being careful enough, because she was not being educated enough, because she was not being vigilant enough? Is that your argument?
There is, Faye,
are you saying that women get raped because we are not careful?
Your concern is absolutely right, and it is the concern of everybody. Everybody staying in India, it is everybody's concern, not only your concern. But at the same time, I just want to tell you, it is a vicious circle. Correct me if I am wrong.
You are wrong.
That the taxis running on the roads of India, they are, let me complete what I want to say here. They are not dedicated cabs manufactured in the factory. Many of the people, they buy the car, then they register it as a taxis,
Anila Singh.
So they have child lock in it. So either some law should come that cars dedicated for the cab services, they should be manufactured in a different way altogether. So it is a vicious circle. For that, I am again going to say laws and regulations will be there, but at the same time we need awakening, and awakening is, or educating.
So awakening will come
right
from
now
where?
We are discussing on your channel, and I think so media, social media, and the colleges and the workplaces. I think so everybody, they should give instructions and educate that the passengers, whether they are female or male passengers.
So all right, so let me then, Anila Singh, do the government's job. Charulata Biswas joins us. Charulata Biswas is a young woman who lives in Delhi. Charulata Biswas, I recall an incident a few weeks ago when you were trapped in a car by a drunk driver. Why weren't you more vigilant? Why weren't you more careful? Why weren't you more educated? That's the question the government wants to ask you, Charulata.
This is a stupid question, because if that's the case, then, on our walls in every street it's written, yahan koora nahi feke. But do we see that? We see people throwing garbage everywhere, right? So we have warning signs for several other issues, which are prevailing in our society as of now. But talking about child locks, right now, one thing that I see is that the cab that I'm traveling in right now, the driver is not aware about the stickers, right? So they have not been informed about child locks and what they have to do right now. And about awareness, I think awareness is required, of course. But right now, looking at this situation, it's, like I was saying, the ordeal that I went through, a drunk driver, he locked me up in the cab and I was completely helpless. At that point in time, I didn't know what to do. And I don't want anyone to go through that. And saying that, it's a vicious circle and, a warning sign is enough. A warning sign is not enough. Absolutely not enough. And also the state government is washing off its hands just by, saying that, we will put on some stickers and, women will have the kind of time and the mental state to actually go through that warning sign. I don't think so. I mean, most of the time I am in a rush to reach my office or to a particular place, or maybe I'm with my friends. I'm not in that state to, look at a warning sign on a cab which says that, there's a child lock and you better be prepared. I mean, this is a problem. This is a real problem. Let's face it. And this real problem, are we looking at it to solve it completely, to get rid of the problem, or to brace ourselves to really fight it? I don't want to brace myself to fight it. I'm not a fighter. I want to be protected. And it is the state government's responsibility to make sure that every woman in the capital of the country is protected, is secured. And that sense of security will only come when the authorities are going to take some concrete measure. A warning sign is not going to help for sure.
That's really well said. And I want to bring in Mr. Sipal Singh. Mr. Singh, as an Indian woman, I take tremendous offense on behalf of all of my other female citizens of this country when people say information is necessary, vigilance is necessary, you need to be careful, because how long are we expected to live looking over our shoulders, constantly searching for the next rapist? We look for rapists in elevators and in lifts, on staircases, in taxis, in buses, in trains, in libraries. We're looking for rapists constantly in this country, and we are never ever at peace. We have cases in this country where rapists have come into people's homes and raped them. Now, is it not up to the governments to keep us safe, Mr. Singh?
Absolutely. whenever such things happen, we start talking of attitudinal changes, the laws to be changed, the force is less, the warning is there, the society has to upgrade. All of these are very long drawn out methods, whichever you have to put a psychological test and all. Question is, why not implement something which can immediately save you from this point of view? This is proper. In this particular case, there's hardly anything. The question is one instrument which is there, one digital lock which is there, that should not be there, that should be removed. How is it going to affect overall the convenience of the people? I don't think, because we are only talking about the taxis and the cabs. We are not talking about this to be removed from the private cars. Private car owner will himself know whether it's to be, his child is traveling, he wants to lock it, he'll lock it. But as far as taxis are concerned, I assure you that the normal attitude of the people is when they get into any taxi, in Punjab in particular, they know that we are getting into taxi. First of all, they come with the intention, I don't know what type of driver he will be, because there's a class by itself, they start thinking. My submission is that instead of going into all these lackadaisical things that it will happen like this, and if it happen, the recommendation, which 5 recommendations were accepted, that recommendation might have accepted the central lock, because there have been so many incidents where the passenger died after the accident because the central lock was there, it could not be opened. Okay, you want to remove central lock for that accident, that's good. But for the safety of a woman, as such, as it stands today, because of these harrowing experiences and because of the attitude which is prevalent, I had the experience of putting some drivers through certain tests, because I wanted to take some driver into one of my specialized force. They were put to some psychological tests and they were put in an institute. After that, the elements were drawn and we found that so many drivers have a promiscuous inclination. So many drivers have aggressive inclination.
Is it possible, Mr. Sipal Singh, to test every taxi driver in the country?
You can't go into all these details at this stage. The question is a simple device, which if you remove, how is it going to cause inconvenience to the society?
Yes.
In case this is removed, it may cause inconvenience to some families who are having their own garis. But if removal from the taxis is a simple method, simple procedure.
It's a simple procedure.
And then
yes, absolutely.
Also,
in fact, just to make that point, and I want to point out that Atishi Marina of the Aam Aadmi Party has joined us as well. I'm going to come to you for a second, in a second. But Bharat Vaz is on the phone line from Pune, who apparently works at an auto dealership. Bharat, go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think there are vehicles which have been specifically made for taxis.
Yes.
By the manufacturer. Maruti does it. Hyundai does it. So I think why not make it compulsory for the RTO to register those cars only as a taxi? So if it can be implemented by the government, it can be very easy for the safety of the woman, I think. Things what we have been saying are safety for the woman. I think that can be taken care of the manufacturer and the RTO.
Tell me this, so if I took a car to a mechanic today and told the mechanic deactivate the child lock, how long would that take?
At the moment, it cannot be done because the wiring has to be looked into. So there have been a lot of wiring has to be changed in the vehicle.
Okay, so at the moment you're saying it cannot be done. All right, so that's an interesting thing to speak to auto manufacturers about and see if they'll partner with us. If perhaps Ola and Uber would like that, and I'm calling out right now on national television, Ola and Uber wants to partner with us also to make their cars safer. We welcome anyone who wants to be part of this campaign. I'm going to go to Atishi Marina of the Aam Aadmi Party. Atishi, first of all, I want to thank the government of Delhi for deciding to put these stickers on these cars. Can we take it a step further and work out how we can make these taxis safer for women, please?
Absolutely. I think that, Faye, we have to realize that this question of women's safety, there is no silver bullet solution as far as women's safety is concerned. I think that the entire process where women would feel more safe is a step-by-step mechanism whereby small steps can be taken to ensure that different environs actually become safer. And this sticker, child lock, etc. are steps towards that. In Delhi particularly, there's the issue of Delhi police not being with the Delhi government, but we are also constantly in dialogue with the Lieutenant Governor and the Delhi police to ensure how steps can be taken in terms of improving policing, in terms of ensuring that police is spread all across the city so that women actually have a safer environment.
I think that's a cop-out.
One second, I want to ask you about specifics, Atishi, as far as the Delhi government is concerned, and I'm going to go from political party to political party asking about specifics. The Aam Aadmi Party talked about an improvement in public transport. We talked about 10 to 15 lakh CCTV cameras across Delhi that were to be installed. Could you give us an update of how much of this has actually been done? And also, I am interested to know how many Nirbhaya centers have been set up or Saki centers have been set up in Delhi.
See, there's 2-3 things I think that I would like to say on this. First of all, in terms of public transport, about 2,000 buses have been added. We are in the process of adding CCTV cameras. In some of those buses, or CCTV cameras have already been put. In some other buses, bus marshals have been brought into place to ensure that no harassment of women happens in these places. CCTV cameras have been set up in multiple localities across towns by MLA funds, by MLAs have done so. As far as 10 lakh to 15 lakh CCTV cameras, we have been struggling as far as a large-scale citywide tender is concerned, and therefore we have taken this decentralized approach whereby MLAs are putting CCTV cameras. Then is the steps that have been taken in terms of as far as the child lock are concerned. As I said, many of these steps are incremental. But Delhi, as I've said, also has a peculiar problem of Delhi police and Delhi government coming under different agencies. And that is a problem that we have been looking to resolve, as I said, with dialogue with the Delhi police, dialogue with the Lieutenant Governor who controls the Delhi police, because these policy measures can only be effective when they are done in synchronization with the Delhi police.
Right. Let me also ask Charulata Biswas. Charulata is a young woman who lives in Delhi. Charu, you just heard the response of the representative of the Delhi government. Is there anything you would like to say to her as a woman citizen of Delhi?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good assurance that's coming out, but that's not enough. I mean, stickers are not enough. We need to take out the device. And also, I wanted to add one more point. There are several people arguing that, what about children? They may fall into accidents, accidents may occur and children, will be affected. But I don't think so that a child will be calling a cab for a ride, right? So a parent
my question, Charulata, very quickly is, Atishi of the Aam Aadmi Party just talked about bus marshals, CCTV cameras inside of buses, making Delhi safer for women, which we know has been a huge problem. As a resident of Delhi, have you noticed the change? Do you feel safer? Is there more that you need?
Yes, of course, we need more. I mean, also, last time the kind of, you are well aware, the kind of, police treatment that I got, FIR was not lodged, and I was absolutely left clueless about what to do. I mean, I don't know, nothing has been done as of now. I mean, I don't know. I still feel that something may happen. Every time I take a cab, I feel unsafe. And I think something more can be done. And of course, this is a small step that has been taken by Delhi government. And I really appreciate that. I really welcome that move. But we need to do beyond that, As far as child locks are concerned, I think child locks should be removed from all the commercial cabs so that women are safer. They have a right to their homes and to wherever they are taking a ride.
Right. So I just want to appreciate one thing here. Yes. Mohammed, I'm going to come to you. I just want to appreciate one thing here, that we have a very senior retired police officer and representatives of the Aam Aadmi Party, the Congress government and the BJP, which just goes to say that this is that important a problem that we have to at this point set aside our differences, political or otherwise, and actually come together to find a solution that I'm hoping that every government will implement within their respective states as quickly as possible. Karthikeya Singh, I'm going to come back to you about just removal of child lock. We had someone from, a car manufacturer or a car dealer who said there are separate cars manufactured for taxis and separate manufactured for private vehicles. What, according to you, as an auto expert, in your best advice right now, would be the way to quickly remove these facilities from cars?
So, yeah, there are certain models that manufacturers make which are specifically for taxi use, but this won't encompass all cars that are being applied for taxis, right? So while that will cover a spectrum of the cars that are hitting the roads, like I said earlier also, very often people for taxis are buying used cars. It's more affordable and they can afford to make the changes required. It's more economical in that sense. So that will cover a part of the problem. It won't cover the entire problem in itself. Right, so if you talk about removing the locks from those, like for instance Maruti has the Desire, so the previous generation Desire specifically for commercial vehicles, on that, yeah, surely they could, if the government were to pass a ruling that child locks should not be on that, it would be easier for them to, on one model line altogether, to say that they will not have child locks. But for other models which also are often bought by taxi operators for use as commercial vehicles, that would be difficult to do, right? I think here, if I may throw up another suggestion, is in terms of the taxi aggregator app services, this could be a notification that could be given specifically for women who are riding in cabs to do a basic check before getting into cabs to spread the awareness. That would be, I think, an easy way of getting the message out really quickly and across the country.
Absolutely. So obviously awareness is a big thing, and that's one of the things that we've tried to help with. We've put out several videos on social media and on the channel to help people understand where these locks are and how they can check. But there's so much more that needs to be done by governments in order to meet us halfway or all the way. Mohammed Khan, go ahead.
Yeah. Ms. Marlena, my point is directed to you. Despite how well you said it, I have no faith and I repose no confidence in the promises you just made. And I'll tell you why. The NCRB data, the National Crime Records Bureau, released its data for last year, and it was shocking. Delhi continues to be the most unsafe city for women. Incidents of stalking, incidents of sexual harassment, incidents of harassment at workplace all saw a rise under your vigilance. You talk about the fact that you can't do anything because you don't have the police under your control, but you've been saying this for 2 years. Unfortunately, this thought did not occur to you when you were making these promises during the campaign time. However, to keep this debate constructive, I just want to say the following. Ms. Marlena, there are other states such as Karnataka, which is ruled by the Congress, where strict regulations have been put on background checks for these drivers, for these aggregators. This is a job of the Transport Department, a department that, if I'm not mistaken, very much is in your control. You don't need the police alone to carry out background checks. You can set up an independent verification process. Make it mandatory for them to have Aadhaar when they're running commercial vehicles. Tie their criminal records to that Aadhaar and run it through your database. I think you have the resources and the manpower for that, Ms. Marlena. Unfortunately, I remember seeing huge billboards promising reforms in women's safety that would be an example for the rest of the nation. We have seen absolutely nothing, Ms. Marlena. And frankly, the Delhi Commission for Women has no powers. You need to work on that as well.
Well, I just want to point out, while you said that quite articulately, Mohammed Khan, the Karnataka government has asked for background checks for drivers, but they don't have a system in which they can do it. FIRs being registered in Karnataka are not soft copied. They're not available online. So in the very least, they can't share FIRs. So if someone comes out of Dharwad after committing a crime and goes to Bangalore and drives a taxi, there is no way for the police in Bangalore to access the FIR from Dharwad or Hubli or Mangalore or anywhere else. Forget about when someone comes from another part of the country. So these background checks, while they work excellently on paper, they're actually an example of how sometimes regulation, like Mr. Singh was pointing out, regulation just sounds really good, but cannot be implemented at all.
Karnataka is also the state, by the way, which led the road when it came to digitizing land records, which people thought was a Herculean exercise.
How is that relevant to this conversation?
Yes, I'll tell you why. Because they are on that same model working to digitize their criminal records bureau. This is a fact. You can verify this, and I can also give that statement here. So there is, you're right. While the intention is a step ahead of implementation, I can assure you by the end of this year or at the start of next year,
you just bandied about that rule as a method to keep women in Karnataka safe. I have to tell you, you did it on the wrong show, because I'm a citizen of Bangalore as much as I am a citizen of Mumbai. But let me point out to you
in-laws are from Bangalore.
Yes. So when you say, and oh, this is what the Karnataka government has done. The Karnataka government had to turn around and then accept that there is absolutely no way for a driver to provide the NOC that the government has asked for, because there's no way to check police records across the country and across the state. Mr. Singh, I'd actually want this to be constructive. Can we offer right now, and while I keep saying that the Delhi government has taken a step in the right direction, can we offer more constructive suggestions to each of the governments in order to make women safer?
I only want to say this thing, that making a very good step that you make the women aware, or the women passenger aware of this. This is all right. You always say, last time it happened, we said that they should be made aware that they should not tell their name. They should be made aware that they should not tell which hotel they are doing. They should be made aware when they land down from the airport, they should not tell where we are going, they should tell so and so place. You go on creating this sort of awareness in the women, that means we are incompetent in enforcement. We only depend on, all right, their awareness. Their awareness is important. No doubt there is important. These are societal nature. These are not immediate. It take time for such. The question is immediate enforcement. Immediate enforcement can be two ways. A, technical, where you have. B, enforcement. Enforcement has to be also stringent. Supposing you have said this thing, very good step. All right, we should put stickers there. Who will check these stickers, whether they have been put or not? You have got a license. After that, who will check on the route whether stickers have been there? Again, the checking will be done by the police. Again, the coordination. Again, the lecturing on the police. Again, it will not happen. The question is, there are certain things which are of simple solution. If the automobile manufacturers can help us by removing these locks, child locks, from the taxis, particularly commercial vehicles, it will go a great way towards this safety. At least to this extent, women will be safe. All right, we are not going to be put in the vehicle and going to be raped, and that sort of. B, the enforcement has to be proper. Every time when the question of enforcement comes, we say attitude is not there, sensitivity is not there, the people, manpower is not there, resources are not there. One stringent action we have to take. We go on giving 10 times of sort of excuses. I feel on one or two occasions, if a very stringent action is taken against these drivers by the police, where the police comes into function, if it is a regulation made by the police also, then we can go a long way. Every time Nirbhaya case took place, we had a legislation. All legislation did.
Yes,
still the cases are going
it finally boils down to implementation. I want to bring in Vigneshwar, who's on the phone line from Jalna. Vigneshwar, go ahead. Vigneshwar, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Madam, I have been listening to this debate for the past half an hour.
Yes.
Okay. Many suggestions have been given, but practically all these suggestions are not feasible. Because you are highlighting on a topic that one woman was trapped inside the country. If you see these child locks and all locks, these systems are provided as part of very standard, which we want to have in India.
Oh.
Today, we need to develop one helpline. Like in railways, the helpline. The helpline should...
right, we need helplines that actually work. We also have Somajit from Kolkata. Somajit, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you for putting me online. I just want to make two statements. One is important question, and second is the solution. The first question is that the thing you are debating, I think it is a very important debate, and the second thing is that you are debating on a very, very low vote bank peoples. The people who are victims are a very low in percentage of vote bank. So I think the government is not looking into it.
Well, Somajit, you're suggesting that half this country, which is half the vote bank, is a low population. I mean, women are or should be at least half of this country. So to suggest that the victims of sexual crime don't amount to a vote bank and hence don't matter, quite frankly offends me quite deeply. I believe that women are the most important part of this country, and women will come out full force and they will vote this time. And when women vote, they will choose the governments that have kept them safe. And God help the governments who have not kept them safe. Now I want to know from the three representatives on the panel, what are you doing going forward to make sure women are kept safe? Anila Singh, And this is an important question coming to you because the BJP runs nearly all the states in the country and the central government. You have never been better placed to pass a regulation and accept it in your state. So you started off saying that the central government has made recommendations. We're waiting for states to accept. You have all the states. Just do them. Why aren't the recommendations? Why haven't they been accepted in Maharashtra or Gujarat or Rajasthan or Haryana or Bihar or UP? What are we waiting for? BJP Central should be able to talk to BJP State. We should get this moving as quickly as possible. What is wrong? What's the delay?
Well, you're absolutely right, but I think so. This issue is above political debate. Whether a state is governed by Bharatiya Janata Party or Aam Aadmi Party or Congress, it doesn't matter. This is connected with the safety and security of female passenger and even the male passenger traveling in the cab. And I'm pretty sure as the central government has accepted the banning of central locking system, it is going to move forward and going to accept this recommendation as well. And but at the same time, as I mentioned, that it is above the political debate. And taking an example from Aam Aadmi Party, Delhi government, I really wish and really hope that all the states in this country governed by any of the political party, they should accept it and get it implemented as early as possible. The central government is going to do its due job, what it has to do.
Well, Anila Singh, I must accept, I must applaud the grace with which you have accepted that a different party in a different government has done a good job, and that example will be followed. I will press, of course, that the central government, which has received a recommendation from us highlighting this problem months ago, push forward on its taxi policy and actually make this a national rule. Mohammed Khan, like I said, there are still several Congress-run states. Karnataka, for example. What are you doing in Karnataka to make women safer? Because as a citizen of the state of Karnataka, I point out to you that Karnataka is not safe for women. Absolutely. What have you done so far in all of the states that are run by the Congress? What are you doing?
Right. First of all, Faye, I want to say what we will do first. I think you're absolutely right. When I first read and heard about the project that was being implemented in Karnataka, I thought it was a fantastic idea. I will follow up on that, and I assure you I'll get back to your representatives and report back with the progress that has taken place. Number two, this sticker idea, which I'm assuming is backed up by legislation, will also be explored by our states in Punjab and Karnataka. I will talk to them tomorrow itself about this subject. I'll talk to senior leaders who represent the states from the party tomorrow morning itself about the subject. That assurance I can give you.
Okay.
Third, we can try and open up a dialogue with companies like Uber and Ola. Full disclosure, I am a counsel for one of those companies. So I think we can try and open up a dialogue between you and them, and they would be very happy to sort of come and partner on this. I think these three things are low-hanging fruits that we can try and start with.
Very quickly, I've run out of time, but Atishi, Marlena, what can the government in Delhi do now going further to make sure women like Charulata who are listening actually feel safer than they do right now?
I think there's 2 or 3 steps. As first of all, the child lock and the stickers have already been put in place. We will also continue to be in dialogue with Uber and Ola to make sure, given the fact that a lot of women across the city are beginning to use Ola and Uber, that would be number 1. Number 2, the project for implementing CCTV cameras across the city. And number 3, most importantly, I think, is the dialogue with Delhi police, because without having the police in place, the CCTV cameras also don't matter, because it's the police who has to ultimately monitor the feed of the CCTV cameras. And I would request my colleague from the BJP, who has been so graceful so far, to also encourage her political party to actually engage in this dialogue, because unless Delhi police and Delhi government work together, Delhi is not going to become a safer city for women.
All right, we're going to have to end this conversation here, but I want to point out also something that Charulata said a little while ago. She said when she went to the Delhi police to file an FIR, they did not want to file an FIR against the taxi driver who had locked her in the car. Now, this is a completely different conversation that we have to have about police officers who don't file FIRs and what we are supposed to do as people who walk into police stations. What are our rights? What can we insist on and what we should expect? But right now, I'm going to keep the message simple. There are locks in car doors that could trap you. Before you get into the car, check to see if the child lock is on. Only then should you sit down in the car and close the door, because once you close the door, there's very little you can do. You need to inform all of your loved ones, men, women, young, old alike, to be aware of these locks before they get into a car with a stranger. This could not be a more important message for you to listen to and pass on to your family. I call upon right now members of the automobile industry, car manufacturers, car dealers, aggregators, logistics. If you want to partner with us, we are open to do so to pass on this message and keep women safer. This is beyond politics, this is beyond business, this is beyond anything else. I welcome suggestions. Contact details are on your screen. I can be reached at faye.d'souza@timesgroup.com. Send us suggestions on how we can battle this child lock problem and keep women safer. Thanks for watching.